Hong Kong Express and a number of businesses in Macau affected by an outage at Alibaba's cloud service data center in Hong Kong. A by-election held to fill 4 election committee constituency seats in LegCo. And the leaders of 4 countries sign a deal to build an electricity cable under the Black Sea. Hello and welcome to TVB News. An outage at Alibaba's cloud service data center in Hong Kong has taken multiple government, news and commercial websites in Macau offline for hours. In Hong Kong, platforms affected include Hong Kong Express. Jackie Lin with details.
The website of Hong Kong Express remained unavailable for booking and other services at 7 p.m. The budget airline says customers can still book flights through its mobile app, and the company has contacted Alibaba's cloud service platform Aliyun to fix the glitches. But neighboring Macau was hit the hardest by the cloud service outage. A slew of government websites went offline from noon. Some of them could later be accessed but was very slow. The Enclave's health code and nucleic acid test booking system were not affected. Lotus TV Macau, Macau cement manufacturing website, and delivery platform Amfood remained down. Same for several mobile apps, including Macau Daily. It seems business as usual at the casinos of Sands and Galaxy Macau, though their online services are out of reach. Some restaurants said businesses have been impacted, especially on their takeaway and delivery services. In a statement, Aliyun confirmed the outage and apologized to users for the equipment anomaly. The company has been working to repair its Zone C data center in Hong Kong, which has lost connection with the central server. Alibaba Cloud's website shows that their Hong Kong server hosts 3 availability zones, which have been operational since 2014. An IT expert says outages of servers are not rare, but the system should have automatically switched to the backup server until the main server is fixed.
The normal understanding for a cloud service is actually the service is hosted in a data center. Normally there will be backup. So this time, because the outage has been last for like 5 to 6 hours, so we are suspecting why the backup service is not functioning.
As to whether there could be data loss, Francis Fong said it depended on whether there were processing errors when the system failed. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
A by-election was held earlier today to fill 4 legislative council seats under the election committee constituency. Chan Wing-kwong, William Wong, Adrian Ho, and Shanghai Long were elected. With a turnout rate of 90.7%, the by-election saw a drop in voter participation compared with last year's Legislative Council general election. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Mr. Chan Wing-kwong.
Results for today's by-election were announced less than 2 hours after members of the election committee cast their ballots. The newly elected candidates will fill 4 LegCo seats left vacant by Alice Mak, Horace Chung, Sun Dong, and Nelson Lam, who joined the governing team of Chief Executive John Lee after serving as lawmakers. As of 11:30 this morning, more than 1,000 members of the election committee have cast their votes. Some voters said their considerations for choosing the candidates include their ability to help the city's economy and innovation. There are also voters who are looking at whether the candidates can bring different views to LegCo. Alan Zeman, one of the unsuccessful candidates in last year's LegCo election, had this to say.
I think the best candidates to win this election, because there's only four nominations that can win. And so I think that it's important that they help Hong Kong people, they look after all the industries, young people really are able to look at and challenge the government on certain aspects.
Chan Wing-kwong, chairman of the Hong Kong Registered Chinese Medicine Practitioners Association and a member of the Democratic Alliance for the Betterment and Progress of Hong Kong, secured 1,028 votes. Professor William Wang, the Associate Dean of the Chinese University's Faculty of Engineering, New People's Party member Adrian Ho, and Shanghai Long, the Managing Director of an AI software company, also secured a spot in the election committee constituency. After today's by-election, the DAB now has a total of 19 seats in the legislature. It remains the party holding the most seats in the Legislative Council. With the election of Chan Wen-kwong, the party voiced its support for representation of the Chinese medicine sector in the city's legislature.
DAB is working as a team. We will, like before, cooperate with different sectors of the community. Of course, Professor Chen, he is a Chinese medicine practitioner. He, of course, will focus on this area.
He has the edge, and also he has his expertise in the Chinese medicine. And of course, going forward, he will put a lot of effort in promoting and enhancing the entire industry and the use of Chinese medicine.
Besides the polling station at the Convention and Exhibition Center, 28 members of the election committee were able to cast their votes at the Penny's Bay Quarantine Center. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Hong Kong reported 16,023 new COVID cases Sunday, slightly more than yesterday. 15,147 infections were local. 38 cases were reported at 27 care homes for the elderly and disabled. 7 schools had to suspend certain classes for 5 days. 40 more COVID patients died, the highest daily death toll since mid-April, bringing total COVID fatalities to 10,958 during the 5th wave of the pandemic. Meanwhile, Andrew Chung, Chief Justice of the Court of Final Appeal, tested positive today. Following instructions from the Center for Health Protection, Chung is in quarantine and his office will be cleaned and sterilized. The heart delivered from the mainland for an organ transplant to a baby girl in Hong Kong took less than 3 hours to reach the hospital concerned. That's according to Xinhua News Agency. The organ was donated after no suitable recipient was found on the mainland. Timothy Lee reports.
After waiting for about 2 months, the 4-month-old Hong Kong baby girl, Cleo Lai, underwent a successful heart transplant surgery yesterday, with the heart donated and transported swiftly from the mainland. Xinhua News Agency said the medical teams from both sides had conducted a simulation exercise to ensure the delivery time was less than 4 hours, which is the maximum preservation time for heart organs. Around 5 p.m. on Friday, it took 48 minutes to conduct the heart extraction surgery from the mainland donor. Around 6:12 p.m., the organ arrived at the Shenzhen Bay port. Within 8 minutes, the cross-border formalities were completed. Escorted by police cars, the ambulance with the organ took an hour to get to the Hong Kong Children's Hospital. Starting at 8 p.m., the organ transplant surgery took about 5 hours to complete. Lo Chongmao, the Secretary of Health, said Hong Kong authorities had reached out to the National Health Commission earlier this month to initiate a temporary medical emergency rescue plan for organ sharing. It gained strong support from the central government and relevant authorities, Lo said. The China Organ Transplant Response System confirmed there was no suitable recipient on the mainland for the heart and approved the delivery in a timely manner to save the baby girl's life. Lo added more than 3,500 Hong Kong residents are waiting for organ transplants, with nearly 1,000 residents have undergone transplants. 9 Hong Kongers have donated their organs on the mainland after their death. With a successful operation this time, Lo hopes to build a long-term mechanism allowing Hong Kong hospitals to join the COTRS and to make the best use of organs donated by residents. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
Essential services have been partly restored to Ukraine's capital, Kyiv, and other cities after another massive barrage of Russian missiles. Ukraine officials say at least 76 missiles were fired by Russia on Friday, with 16 managing to get through the country's air defenses. After Friday's bombardment, traffic had largely returned to normal in Kyiv. Officials say power was restored to around 6 million people countrywide within 24 hours, but 1/3 of Kyiv was still without heating. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said there were still problems with heat and water supplies in a number of cities. In his hometown of Kryvyi Rih, Emergency crews pulled the body of a toddler from the rubble after a missile tore through an apartment building, killing 4 people and injuring 13. European countries looking to other than Russia for its energy needs have started to make headway. Romania, Hungary, Georgia, and Azerbaijan have signed an agreement to build an electricity cable under the Black Sea, while Germany has launched its first natural gas terminal. Nazvi Karim has more.
These 4 signatures will not completely satisfy Europe's demand for energy resources in the short term, but it marks the beginnings of significant efforts to shift away from reliance on Russia for the continent's power needs. In Bucharest, the leaders of Hungary, Romania, Georgia and Azerbaijan finalized an agreement on Saturday to build a 1,100-kilometer-long electricity connector under the Black Sea. The 1,000-megawatt cable linking Azerbaijan to Hungary via Georgia and Romania is seen as a potential new power source for the European Union, with the energy generated by offshore wind farms. With 2.3 billion euros from the European Commission for its construction, the pipeline would take 3 to 4 years to build.
Given the current security context marked by the military aggression against Ukraine, we need to cooperate better and show more solidarity for mitigating common challenges. Our energy cooperation responds to a strategic impetus. It will enhance our energy resilience and ensure diversification of supply and transport routes.
The ceremony was overseen by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, a fierce advocate for EU energy self-sufficiency.
To integrate a growing share of renewables, we need indeed stronger electricity interconnections. And this is why the Black Sea electric cable between Romania, Georgia and Azerbaijan is so important.
I can hear you very good. And welcome to Germany.
Already gaining a head start is Germany, which is showing the way in speed construction. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz on Saturday inaugurated the country's first liquefied natural gas terminal, a 90-kiloton floating regasification structure that would serve 50,000 households for a year. And it only took 5 months to lay down the 26 kilometers of pipeline that would be linked to Germany's existing grid. Germany is hoping to build more such terminals and is striving for import capacity of 30 billion square meters of natural gas by the end of 2023. Scholz said with Russia's war against Ukraine a threat to energy security and causing inflation, the new terminal could serve as a model for a fresh, faster-paced German economy. Nazvi Karim, TVB News.
In the U.S., the House panel investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol is considering recommending the Justice Department pursue an unprecedented criminal charge of insurrection and 2 other counts against former President Donald Trump. The panel will meet on Monday when any recommendation will be made public. This report from NBC News.
Tonight, the January 6th committee completing its final report and deciding on potential criminal referrals to the Justice Department for former President Trump's role in the attack on the Capitol.
We fight like hell.
Members still debating charges for insurrection, obstruction of an official proceeding of Congress, and conspiracy to defraud the federal government.
Charging a former president with crimes like insurrection or obstruction would be completely unprecedented.
The weight of the decision not lost on members who say they're confident they have enough evidence to be able to pull the trigger after an exhaustive 1.5-year-long investigation.
We've been very, very careful in crafting these recommendations and tethering them to the facts that we've uncovered.
While all 3 charges are possible, 3 sources actively involved in the panel's deliberations tell NBC News a final call has not been made. The referrals carry no real legal weight, with the Justice Department still running its own probes into the former president.
DOJ will likely make a big point of saying that irrespective of any referral from Congress, they will decide to prosecute or not prosecute independently of congressional recommendations.
The committee will vote on the referrals during its final public presentation on Monday, as it's set to be disbanded when Republicans take back control of the House in the new year.
We've worked very successfully as a team on the committee, Republicans and Democrats together, and I'm looking forward to wrapping this up.
Still ahead, the first Hong Kong cyclothon since 2018. 5,000 cyclists today took part in the Hong Kong Cyclothon, the first since the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic. For the 50-kilometer event, organizers decided to leave out a section of the route that took in Tsing Ma Bridge and Ting Kau Bridge because of the weather conditions. The Hong Kong Tourism Board said some cyclists did not turn up because of the cold weather. Mimosa Ngai has more.
After a COVID-enforced break, the Hong Kong Cyclothon returned amidst the cold. While it was only 9 degrees Celsius this morning, the chilly conditions failed to dampen the enthusiasm of the cyclists. They gathered at Salisbury Road in Tsim Sha Tsui, the starting point for the cyclothon, at around 4 a.m.
3, 2, 1.
The first event, the 50-kilometer race, began at 5 a.m. Originally, participants were to ride to Tsing Ma Bridge and Ting Kau Bridge before returning to Tsim Sha Tsui. But the Tourism Board decided to leave out the two bridges after reports of winds of up to 35 kilometers per hour. Sarah Lee Wei Si, Hong Kong's Olympic medal winning track cyclist, agreed with the decision to change the route. She said some participants were not used to the conditions, and it was too risky for them to ride in the face of strong winds at Stonecutters Bridge. For some participants, the coldness did not matter.
Cold weather, that's part of sport. But as soon as we exercise and we ride, we forget about the cold.
Pan Yu Kai, chairman of the Tourism Board, said the weather only had a minor impact on the cyclothon. He said some elderly participants informed us that they could not make it to the event because of the freezing cold weather, but those cases were exceptions. Meanwhile, Chief Executive John Lee said the cyclothon was a success. He also said with tourists no longer needing to scan the Leave Home Safe app, they could now visit various businesses on their arrival, allowing local markets to once again thrive. He added that with relaxed anti-COVID measures, more tourists would be tempted to visit Hong Kong. Mimosa Ngai, TVB News.
That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly.